Hello all, and welcome to another episode of the Market Pulse presented by SmartTouch. I am your host, Aaron Fisher, and today we have a very great episode with us where we have our very own Pete Stone, our social media manager and social media extraordinaire, talking about the needs, the do's, the don'ts, and what you should be thinking about entering into social media programs, both paid as well as organic, especially as we're coming up to the springtime where we're holding a lot of events. Pete, we're going to crack that head open and figure out what's those secrets in philosophy. But before we do that, some people may not know that you hail from South Africa originally, and you came to Texas as quickly as possible. So, Pete, how do you wind up halfway around the world in Austin working on home building marketing?
So I grew up in Cape Town, South Africa, in a pretty big, well-known suburb called Durbanville. And I lived there till I was about 18, 19. And then I had family that lived in London. And so I didn't really know what I wanted to do after school. So on a whim, went over there and started a BA in music business of all things. So that was a unique course that I couldn't do in South Africa, so that was kind of justification for doing it. Um, anyway, met my wife there, and she's from Dallas originally, so that's how I ended up over
The
here.
Texas connection.
Yeah, and she just picked Austin because she had been here as a teenager and liked it, and knew it was a relatively young city, and a lot going on and a fun place to live. So yeah, that's how we ended up here. And the way I look at my degree is the way it kind of shook out is, of course, it does apply to more traditional music industry positions like management, um, things to do with royalties, like there's music law, things like that. Um, I could already tell that I was more interested in the marketing side of things and the business elements of all this. So when I graduated, when I moved back to Cape Town, I got a job working with it's like a musical instruments distributor. So that was kind of my first foot in the door, and liked the marketing side of it more still. And then when I moved here, it was right before COVID. So because that was happening in March of 2020, it's right when I got my green card and was looking for jobs. Um, a few things I had lined up fell through just because so many companies were putting hiring on hold. And the one that came through in the end was Radiant Plumbing and Air Conditioning. So that was a really funny segue going from music industry into trades. And especially because Austin is known for live music, I thought that's what I was going to do when I moved there.
Hmm.
But yeah, it started at Radiant and it was a great gig. So people who live locally know Radiant has a reputation for being really
Well, I
exciting,
do want to, yeah,
funny.
I do want to give some context to the audience because those that are listening to the audience will know about Radiant's social media presence and kind of the humor. I mean, you could go around town and see wrapped vehicles. Um, and I know you're going to downplay it, but some of your social media content made its way to John Oliver on HBO.
Yeah, I had a small hand in that, I like to think. So immediately when I came on there, I was able to get hands-on experience at a lot of the existing output channels they had. So I was able to help with some of the commercials we made, which were very funny and cinematic, helping to make props, helping my ex-colleague Jimmy with sound, even though I don't really know how to do that. I kind of learned on the job. Um, and yeah, managing the organic social media and especially seeing that as a fun challenge because plumbing and HVAC is inherently an unattractive industry to consumers because anytime you have to call a plumber, it's because something really bad happened, like your basement's flooding or your like a pipe's clogged or something. So people have a negative connotation with what you're selling anyway. So trying to make that fun and vibrant and engaging and educational and then still striking the balance of not being too silly because we used to get a ton of feedback as well, people commenting on the commercials and stuff saying I'd never hire these people to do my HVAC. But it's like, the idea was that's more the kind of spirit of the company that comes out of the commercials. When people come on site, it's super professional,
Yeah.
very down to business. So Yeah, that was a really good experience. And then when was this? Maybe 18 months ago, 19 months ago, wanted to look for something else. Found SmartTouch. I'd never worked with a an agency before, so that was very different. So I went from an in-house team that was very small, um, where kind of the people that I would engage with and collaborate with on a day-to-day basis were more or less the same, to this environment, which is very different. I think I have it fluctuates, but I think it's around 30 something paid social clients whose accounts I manage, do organic social for a few of them as well. All of them have slightly different USPs and personalities and things. So it's a really interesting challenge in a different way to kind of figure out what we can accentuate to make them stand out and help them reach their goals.
Well, I mean, let's dive into that too, because I know, yeah, I'll hype you up, Pete. Having you come on board and having that ancillary, that part of the buyer's journey, but also marketing background to then apply to home builders. What you've done here at the local HBA has been astronomical. When you think about the client list that you get to work with, and the different personas, whether it be a master plan community, social, a custom home builder, maybe a large volume builder, how does your philosophies change, or is there an overarching guiding philosophy when it comes to social media?
I think the
And I know that's
general
broad.
I think the general marketing principles apply across the board, and that's what makes it fun. I can take this into any industry, technically speaking. I can learn what the consumer mindset is, what their needs and fears are, and things like that, and understand how the brand I'm representing can cater to them. So I think that generally stays the same. But real estate has been fun because it's very fast moving. There's a lot of technology coming in there, which is great. Lots of innovation, like people that we speak to at the HBA that are always introducing new technology, software, things like that. And then also from the consumer side, it's a very aspirational thing we're selling. Like I heard someone say on Market Pulse, like you're not selling homes, you're selling what, a lifestyle or something.
Yeah.
And that is basically true. Like there's so much storytelling you can do. Um, there's so many opportunities to connect the individual with what they're exactly looking for.
Oh yeah. Well,
And yeah, so it's been a pretty big shift going from something that is as unattractive as selling mattresses, which would be plumbing, to real estate. So, and that's something I was excited about, just being able to work in a space where the consumer is inherently stoked about what you're showing them. So yeah,
you're saying you don't want to keep polishing a sneaker?
yeah. I mean, and again, it was funny. Like it is its own kind of challenge, and anyone who's worked in a marketing role that hasn't done that, it's a really good like kind of learning curve to see if I can sell this very difficult thing to try and push. But another thing I wanted to mention with real estate that's been interesting, and we can delve into it, is the restrictions that ad platforms place on housing ads.
Yeah, the
Um,
Fair Housing Act plays a huge part in kind of decision making and how to deploy and messaging.
yeah, so anyone who's experimented with running ads on Meta has run into this. The options you're given to target audiences are really narrow. You can't cap ages, nothing to do with income levels. The radius you can target is very broad. You can't go down to zip codes. And then interest targets are quite vague. Usually, the best you can do is try and go after people that have shown an interest in certain real estate listing websites like Trulia and Zillow and so on. And then a few very generic broad interests called like single family detached homes and things like that, which you're basically left to guess what Facebook put into that audience. But the flip side to that is because there's so much more restrictions about what you can do with targets and so on, there's a lot of opportunity to get really creative and do unusual things to not game the system, but basically work in spite of all the restrictions and get your client's very specific product in front of a very specific demographic they're going after.
I mean, yeah, that's going to be always you know, the secret sauce is how do you get volume, but also quality leads or, interest. And I mean, when it comes to kind of applying this philosophy, how do you kind of walk through the initial um, just setup cycle? Like, how would you determine what's the best program, what's the best channel, and how to approach it? Because it does sound like, in comparison to HVAC and plumbing, we're fulfilling a desire, we're fulfilling a fantasy in the consumer's mind. So we have to kind of fulfill that to a degree, or fulfill that sort of to storytelling. So
Hmm.
not everything's always around lead generation, but could potentially be more around relevancy or brand awareness. So how do you kind of navigate that from initial contact to, all right, we're in market.
So the general approach is to reverse engineer the buyer journey.
Yeah.
So because the targets we can get are very weak on Facebook, the way we do it is instead of trying to put together the ideal audience with the limited options Meta gives us, we basically try and have these individuals show us that they're in the market and that they are resonating with our brand. And a basic way we do that is to have a very attractive, eye catching piece of creative at the top of our funnel and to show it to a very broad audience. Typically, what we do with clients, if they have good video assets, we'll use that to start with. And the idea is we'll show that to their service area and then make mini audiences from those videos based on how long people watched it, how they engaged with it, and so on. So if I have an ad running that gets 10,000 views on my video, but 2,000 of that 10,000 watched it all the way through, I can capture their information and I can at least bet that, okay, from this 2,000 individuals, they watched the thing all the way through, so I know that something stuck out to them. Maybe they were just intrigued by the music or something like that, but more likely than not, they understood that this was an ad for a home or a master plan community or whatever it is, and something made them stick around. So that is now an audience we can use to show them a different ad to down the line that's more aggressive because we know this person is in the mindset of they already have a frame of reference of who we are. They're likely in the market to buy. And so now we can be a bit more direct.
So you're basically, rather than pushing all the leads down to further down the funnel, which are getting lower quality, you're kind of almost qualifying them at the top end.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And I mean, everyone wants to do that. Obviously, you want to rush to the bottom of the funnel. There are some ways you can do this with paid social, which we'll get to, but by and large, you need to do something like this. Another really good qualifier is just if someone's been on your website, and I've seen how many clients when we take over their paid social stuff don't even have like a pixel set up, but that's just a no-brainer thing you should be doing, at least tracking landing page views. So every time someone has been on your site or even specific pages, we capture their audience in, we can then show them that more aggressive ad as well. And we can work with whatever someone has. Like some clients have tons of really good um, video assets, really good images, and so on. But even if they don't, we can configure what they have and build them kind of a mini funnel
Well,
like that.
let me ask you, because right now we get inundated with Meta, AI. We talk about AI constantly and AI ads. I mean, do you see any value in the AI widgets that are being provided to you in Meta and kind of the using AI content at this stage? I mean, what's your thoughts around its current state?
So this would be a good thing for anyone who's managing their own businesses, paid social campaigns to be on the lookout for. This is quite annoying, but Facebook always when they introduce some new thing, they'll automatically have it switched on. So you'll need to be on the lookout if there's some new thing that it's trying to implement in your campaigns because they'll say, "Oh, it's this new thing. It's going to help your things grow," but they're really just trying to get guinea pig data on how this is performing. But one common thing is and they're not bad as long as you review them. But specifically with copywriting and headlines and things like that,
Yeah.
Facebook can give you 5 or 6 variations based on what you put in your initial field, and the machine learning is quite good to then make decisions based on the specific individual when you show them this ad. And it could be something as basic as is this person going to like and respond more favorably to copy with a bunch of emojis? Or are they going to think that's unprofessional and we're going to show them the more dry, direct, clean, polished copy when we show them that ad? So with the copywriting, I think it's a really good um, thing to make use of. Even in Facebook, or you don't even have to do it on that platform, just use ChatGPT to give you variations of things you're working on your own spreadsheets. But so I think with the copy, there's a lot of value. Another thing is an issue we run into sometimes is a client will want video assets, but they don't actually have proper video.
Yeah.
Using some free AI software that can put images to motion in an appealing way. Um, it's not that difficult to do because, especially if you think of the nicest architectural digest walkthrough videos of a home, it's a slow, steady camera that's kind of flowing through the house. You can emulate that pretty easily from images, but that's just a nice way of making your static images, which honestly are not going to look that exciting if you just splice them together in a video, put some motion to it. And again, there's loads of AI powered software like CapCut, which we use that can do that stuff for you for free. Of course, they have paid versions of it, but that's another easy way to just make the base of what you have more appealing, more exciting, more variations.
Well, especially on the organic side when they're starting off, is just kind of keep content or relevancy out there, and this is just helps with production.
Yeah, Erica from Maya Ranch at an HBA talk recently said that's she insists that people that she has influence over use some AI for paid social just to basically teach it what your brand value and messaging is so that it is has some frame of reference for who you are instead of having to type out, I'm a custom home builder in Austin, da da da, every time. Basically, train your ChatGPT account to understand who you are and then just assist you with knocking out good, engaging, vibrant content on a consistent basis because it can be really like fatiguing.
Well, that's what I was going to say too. Is do we have to be mindful of kind of almost AI fatigue, where these images and these videos? I mean, they're amazing. I know VO3 just came out, and they're coming with video and sound, and some of the stuff that they're doing is amazing. But you take like the Will Smith eating spaghetti video 3 years ago. It was like, oh, this is amazing. We see a newer version now, and it's like, okay, yeah, yeah, we get it. It's AI. So is there a pitfall in kind of overcommitting to AI when it comes to your content?
I think so. You still want to maintain the human element to it. Strictly speaking, I mean, you as a marketing manager are going to know your brand better than you're going to be able to explain it to an AI model for the foreseeable future. So having a good balance between using it as a tool to expand on what you already have um, is kind of the best approach. And I think everyone has seen like kind of the garbage in, garbage out
Yeah.
results of AI. Sometimes if your prompts just aren't good enough, the results you get are not good. Um, so yeah, just use it as a tool, but stick to um, your own knowledge base, your own understanding of the message that you're going for. Something I often do is I'll just try and get an idea to get me going. So if I need to do organic social content or a paid social messaging campaign, I'll kind of give ChatGPT the broad outline of what I'm going for, get some ideas, pick them out myself. Because,
Just a little
honestly,
bit of
I can only,
scaffolding and cherry picking.
correct. I can only come up with so many clever ways to say like puns about like the season, like fall in love with your home and this kind of
Ooh,
stuff.
that's
Yeah,
good. Spring
yeah,
forward into a new home.
yeah. That's a free ChatGPT headline that you'll get. But yeah, just to assist you to offset the fatigue at least on your end.
You talked about kind of the platform being primarily Meta, which it seems like that would be a recommendation, or based on the majority of your personas. Kind of talked about tools, but you did also talk about audiences, and as a marketer and social media manager, are you at the whim of the audiences provided to you, or how would you create a more hyper focused audience? Because I mean, the holy grail is quality leads and a lot of them.
So, in addition to the kind of self-generated audiences we already talked about, of people that watch your videos all the way through or have already been on your website, we have partners that can pull certain specific lists for us. They don't work for any and all clients, but they're generally a really good idea. And I think when people hear what they are, it makes sense that surely there's some targets that would make sense for your brand. One thing is IDFA lists. So ID for advertisers. Tanner has been on here to explain what that is. But basically, if someone goes to a specific location with their phone, which obviously they will, like your competitors, model homes, or even like affluent neighborhoods that you know potential buyers might be living in, we can pull those ID lists, upload them to Facebook and Instagram, and then serve those audiences for, they usually hold between 45 to 60 days. So that's been a really good thing for us. Like I said, especially model homes of your competition. If someone went on site to one of your competitors' actual locations, you know that they're very far down the funnel. That's a
Yeah.
good way for you to come and swoop in. Another thing that we've recently introduced is what we call competitor conquesting lists. So this is a list of users that have engaged with your competition's paid ads. So if you identify, let's say you're a custom home builder in the area, you identify 5 custom home builders that you think are your direct competition, you're able to source the paid traffic that they have in this area, upload that into Facebook and Instagram, serve that list. And then finally, there's all sorts of other lists we can pull. Like one thing we've done commonly is with Build on Your Lot clients, we're able to get lists of individuals who own lots in the area where you want to build, but we know that they haven't built yet. So you know that they've already
Yeah,
done 50%
yeah.
of the thing. They have what they need. Now the builder of their dreams can swoop in with attractive ads that make them think, okay, maybe this is who I should go with to build my dream home. And even realtor lists, like we've pulled lists like that, where some clients could tell that most of their sales were coming directly through real estate agents that had relationships with customers.
Mm.
So we've even done that, like go directly after real estate agents, show them our community is by far the most attractive. Here's additional incentives you can give your clients, bring them to us. That's worked really well. And yeah, so that's a kind of in a nutshell the different specific lists an agency like SmartTouch is able to pull, um, and then use that in tandem with the general strategy of videos and traffic ads and so on.
No, and I did like that you kind of touched on the different buyer journey. Like, if you're pulling an IDFA list, the person's there physically on site, they're probably further down the line. Whereas competitor conquesting, you're engaging with prospects that are engaging with advertising. And typically, how do people shop for homes? They're sitting laying in bed next to their partner or by themselves on the couch at 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night. So that's usually kind of shows you where they're at in their buying cycle. If they're
And
engaged.
that's a very good example of something that you have control over, that if you just are thoughtful with it, it can make all the difference with if your campaign is successful or not. So if an IDFA list comes from a competitor model home park, I know that they are very far down the funnel. I can hit them with an offer or something. I can even directly name the competitor. I can say, this is something unique
Yeah.
my community has that I know this place doesn't have. So that's a way that I can go in with the messaging that really aligns with what they're expecting. A
Mm.
conquesting list, like you said, they're likely higher up the funnel. I would instead do I would not make the message as aggressive, and I would definitely not make the ad type as aggressive. With the IDFA list, you can really do a lead gen ad, which is a form on Facebook or Instagram where you're basically prompting them to give you all their contact information so you can push them into your workflows. Conquesting lists probably wouldn't do that. I'd probably send them to your website first and let them get there, poke around, take their time, look at your galleries, look at your videos, and then over time kind of nurture them to then get them to do that more high ticket conversions like calling you or filling out a form. But that's a good example of, despite all the restrictions, you have control over how in your face do I make this message, how soft do I make it, what do I highlight. Because again, if someone sees an ad, if they're scrolling through social media and it comes across their feed, if something's going to catch their eye, you really only have that one opportunity to have it have the desired impact or not. So knowing which things to highlight, um, knowing if it's price or if it's amenities of your community or if it's incentives or whatever, it just pays, and it pays off to be mindful of what position your client is in the funnel to know how you can speak to them most effectively.
Well, to effectiveness and success of campaigns, want to kind of switch gears here and talk about metrics and KPIs. So I know it's again broad and different objectives and different strategies for campaigns and the different buyer cycle and personas. But when you pull up the meta dashboard, when you pull up your analytics, what are the key kind of metrics you looking at to say, hey, okay, is this working and is this not working?
So, whenever we launch a new client's campaigns, the thing we're almost always going to want to start with is some kind of traffic ad to get quality traffic to your landing pages. And as I mentioned before, an absolute necessity is to have a pixel set up. It's called a pixel because back in the day, when you would click on an ad, it would load a literal pixel that were really tiny, so you couldn't see
Yeah,
it with the naked eye. But that would tell whatever the marketing platform was that this person pulled up the thing and they did load the pixel. So I know they did at least this one action. So for the first 30 to 45 to even 60 days, we want to run traffic ads to get some initial feedback on how the broad audiences we started with are performing. And we can keep an eye on all sorts of high level metrics. Obviously, landing page views is the main thing we're looking at. And that's actually different to link clicks. You're always going to see in your metrics a discrepancy between link clicks and landing page views because we've all done this. An ad comes across your feed, you click on it, and it loads, and it takes a second too long, and you change your mind, like, I don't want to see this,
yeah,
which is a good thing for Facebook to report differently on because I want to know and spend time on the people that actually bother to load the page at the very least, instead of folks that just maybe were intrigued for a second, clicked on it, dipped as soon as the page loaded, and so on. Um, the cost per landing page view is very relevant. So obviously, the more landing page views you can get, the cheaper it's going to cost per acquisition in that sense. That's a key metric we keep an eye on. And then we really dig into the back end on Google Analytics to see exactly what these users do. And the expectation is going to look different. So if it's at the top of the funnel, I'm really expecting them to do what I call getting to know you engagements. I want to see them click on your galleries. I want to see them watch your videos. I want to see them spend a decent amount of time on the pages, as in they're reading your content, they're processing it, they're getting to know you. Um, and I do expect a few more direct engagements like click to calls and form submissions, but that's not an absolute necessity. When it comes to the bottom of the funnel, let's say it's an ad that I'm showing to people that I know have already been on the site. Maybe now I'm sending them directly to a contact page, and now I do want to see form submissions, click to calls, driving directions if you're a master plan community, people trying to pinpoint exactly where you're located. So the expectations can change depending on where they are in the funnel, but we always want to be able to track something or have a clear idea of what success looks like at the different levels of the funnel. The most kind of aggressive ad type we have that I really like. It works better for some clients than others. Is lead gen forms. So as I mentioned before, this is an ad where if someone clicks on it, it's going to open a form that looks really nice. It has your branding, has a little introduction, and you're basically trying to get them to, in that very moment, without having to go to your website again, fill out a form now and quickly steal their information. And then you can get them into your workflows and your drip campaigns, and your salespeople can follow up with them and so on.
Mhm.
And there's so much there's so much potential for tweaking and enhancing your forms that can work better for your brand than others. So one thing we're able to add to this simply is custom questions. So that's a good way you can filter out poor traffic leads. Because if someone just has to put in first name, last name, email, and phone number, they're not really that committed. But if you ask them something like, "What's your price
Right.
range?" You give them
Are you
brackets,
are you, gonna look to buy in the next 6 months? Something similar to that.
give them timelines, like when are you looking to buy? What's your price bracket? Usually, if someone's not serious, if they see dollar signs, they're probably going to dip out at that point, which is a good thing. I don't want them to fill out the form just because
Yeah.
they're mildly curious. If it's the
Um,
bottom of my
and the
funnel,
sales team probably thanks you for that too.
right? Yeah, and it's a good point. Like it's good information that gets fed through into your CRM that your salespeople can use as a talking point. So just the budget question. We work with some custom home builders that have very high end products, but they keep lower amounts in their custom questions because if someone selects that lowest amount, they know that, okay, well, I can sell this person on a remodel. I can potentially sell them on an ADU instead of maybe a custom home. Um, there's always value in some of these leads, even if you think that the lower end of the spectrum. And besides, like most of the time, people think that their price range is X, but it's actually Y. Like they can actually afford a bit more than they think. So it's just a good way to qualify the leads and again to give your salespeople a point of reference when they reach out to the lead. Another thing you can do is to have an open-ended question that we're experimenting more and more with. So if we see that the lead quality isn't great, if we give people multiple choice questions because they can just quickly bang, 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 flick through it. One thing we'll do is just ask them a very open-ended question. One I really like from one of our clients, Southerly Homes, is they say, "What's your dream home feature?" Which is an exciting thing that the
Yeah.
person will have to think about, put something in, and then that,
That's
again,
great.
that's something that the sales folks can bring up when they reach out to them, and yeah, get the ball rolling that way. Just a couple more things on lead gen. There's all sorts of other things you can pile on. You don't want to do too much because if you make the form like an essay, you're going to scare everybody
Yeah.
off. But um,
I mean,
there's
is there a limit that you feel like 3 max, 5 max, or is it just kind of up to your discretion and how you format it?
I think it depends on where you're coming from. If some clients like the initial form that we launch does well from the beginning, and if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So if it has the basic information questions and one custom question and it does well, then that's fine. Typically, I'd say two custom questions is a good middle point. I have enjoyed seeing how much I can push it because the more questions you add, the more buy-in you're
Yeah.
just creating with the user. And especially if you do open-ended questions where they actually have to think about a response for something. But yeah, it just really depends on your brand. A couple of new features on Facebook and Instagram that I think is really going to help with this is you can now disable people auto-filling the phone number and email fields, which is huge because I think what a lot of people do is they have the information stored on their phone when they fill out things that can auto-complete the fields. And quite often, their default email might be the one that they specifically use for kind of
Like a
promotion,
primary. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
like junk. So, you're running the risk there of someone.
So you're really kind of with these forms, you're looking for intentionality.
Correct. I want to create as much buy-in from them so that they just don't do the thing that I dread, which is the client reach out to them and they go, "Who are you? How did you get my phone number?" I'm trying to completely eliminate that excuse because there's so much commitment to this, and we want to make the offering good for them as well. So yeah, disable autofilling email and phone number. And then another thing, this is quite intense, but I think it's a brilliant idea, and Facebook finally implemented it like this month, is two-factor authentication. So the phone number someone put in the previous step, they will be asked to verify it with a code that gets sent to their phone. It happens immediately, so it doesn't really slow them down. But that's like an airtight way of confirming that at least the phone number they gave you is legit.
Mhm.
The person had to have it with them and to quickly fill in the code that was sent to them. That's yet another layer we can add on to make sure that the person filling it out is a real human being who does have an interest in what you're selling. And we've created buy in with them so that they are unlikely to react as if they're shocked that you're reaching out to them. They know that this is kind of what you're selling and someone's going to make contact with them. One more thing I want to add, and this is again with so much opportunity for creativity with this stuff, is um, using some kind of lead magnet and attaching it to your lead gen forms. So back in the day, if you ever wanted to download a booklet or an e-brochure or something, usually what you had to do was fill out a form, give them your email, and then they would email you with a link that you then had to click on and
Yeah.
pull up the thing. Super clunky. Facebook has a thing now where as soon as someone finishes filling out the form, literally the next slide on the form is the thing that they signed up for. So if you already have a nice digital asset like an e-brochure or a map of your community or an amenity map or a sheet with incentives or something, that's a great thing that you can use to as a hook to basically
Yeah.
get someone to commit to
Oh,
filling out.
yeah. What are we just giving our information out for free here? Like, what's, I mean, yeah.
Exactly.
Well, Pete, how often do you give away your information?
I mean, not often. And like
Yeah.
the times when I do, and especially if there was some kind of incentive, I end up being happy to do it. Like I don't care if they're gonna email me or text me into the ground. Or that's funny. Like I get texts still from Bordery, the charcuterie company, because I signed up for a promo code one time. So they did give me something, and I was happy to give it to them. They text me like every day. Um, let's see. I think it was a big blanket company. I think I signed up for some promo code they had years ago, and they're still texting me. And I'm not upset to hear from them because again, they did give me something in return.
Yeah.
So yeah, using a lead magnet like that you probably already have, like most businesses already made some kind of e-brochure thing,
One
even if it's
pagers.
yeah,
Yeah.
even if it's on the website, the user doesn't necessarily know that. So you have them now, and they, for all you know, think that this is a very exclusive thing that they're seeing. So yeah, big it up. Tell them fill out this thing. You can access it instantly. Um, use your incentive sheets. Use amenity maps, community maps, anything that excites the user and just gets them to fill out the freaking form. Because we can also see statistically on lead gen ads, if you got 5 leads in a week, you probably had 50 link clicks, meaning 50 people opened the form, only 5 of them submitted it. So you're always trying to get those ratios healthy and just get someone to
Well,
do it. Yeah.
well, into that metric, I mean, you feel 10% is kind of the benchmark that you want to shoot for when it comes to that open and form submission.
I think I'm more concerned just with the bottom line. So the amount of leads and the cost per lead specifically.
Mm.
So for master plan communities, we expect the cost per lead to be around 30 to 40 bucks. That's like a healthy amount to spend on lead gen ads to then get people to give you information. Custom home builders is going to be a bit more expensive because it's a higher end product. It's a smaller audience you're able to
Yeah.
go after. But that still should be around 50, 60 bucks. So yeah, we mostly keep an eye on how much it costs to get you those leads. Um, it's only when it's really a wide margin, like I'm seeing 100 link clicks with like one form submission, that's an indication that okay, the form isn't very good. It's not convincing enough people to follow through once they load it initially.
Mm.
So that's all information we can take on board and then make some tweaks.
Nice. Well, no, it sounds again about quality over quantity, especially some of these tools and new things that you can kind of implement and really qualify those prospects before they even come on site.
Hmm.
Well,
And sometimes the client's happy with volume. This is especially with brand new developments. So it's going to take a couple of years for them to build this new
yeah,
master plan community and start selling. If they just want people on their interest list and their mailing list, then volume is fine. And if they're bad quality, they could turn into good quality down the line because you're going to keep hitting them with your drip campaign emails. You can nurture them. You have a bit more time to work with.
mm,
But if you are a business in your final phase of selling, you basically want to get that last bit of inventory sold. It's a different objective you're looking at. But even those leads that are very kind of low buy-in, if you have time and if you're a new community, it's a new exciting thing, you're usually happy to get even lower quality leads into the funnel because maybe they can turn into something down the line.
nice. Well, switching gears from kind of metrics and from paid, but we're coming into the spring summer season, and there's a lot of events. I mean, this is kind of the quote selling season, so getting people on site, boots on the ground. But the events can come in different shapes and forms. It could be grand openings, realtor events, community focus events. They could be around, you know, land deals. We were just wrapping up one where you're just doing a full out blitz of, almost 100K of media buys of social, Hulu, radio, newspapers, billboards, anything that just kind of get them out there. So when it comes to events, what would be your advice for marketers or community managers on how to engage social media for events, whether it's to bring out awareness, get people to sign up, RSVP, or capture and keep that momentum going.
So, a key part of the approach on the paid side, at least, is to always look for an excuse not to declare that your ad is a housing ad. If it's an event, it's technically not a housing ad. You're not technically selling a home. So that's a great way to nuance your messaging, make it a bit more softer.
Mm,
Don't be as overt with, hey, I'm selling a house. And 99% of the time, ads like that can fly under the radar, and that opens up targets that we didn't have, like um, different age ranges. Like, let's say that most of the buyers in your community are going to be young parents. You can target that on Facebook. If it's not a housing ad, you can go after people with um, very specific data that I wonder how they get, like newborns, toddlers, teenagers. You
oh
can go
yeah.
after you can go after price, income levels generally. You can target zip code specifically. You can get into interest targets, like you mentioned, the land sale events recently that we did. You can go after targets like outdoor recreational activities, fishing, hunting, things like that you do not have at your disposal if it's just a dry housing ad. You're doing a parade of homes. This is a networking event. If
Yeah.
you're something where you're inviting the public into your community, it's technically not a housing ad. Do not declare it as one at the campaign level and just soften your messaging a bit. Usually, when you publish these, sometimes Facebook will flag it and see that there's a house in the
Images or
info
something.
you're
Yeah,
using or
yeah.
something. Yeah, tweak it a little bit, run it through again. Still giving you a hard time? Okay, soften the messaging even more. So that's a great way to just run this not as a housing ad. Another thing I want to add is Facebook events are still quite good. It depends on what your
Really?
Yeah, it depends on what your offering is, but Facebook events generally do still work. We have quite a few clients that will do them regularly. So
But would that be
if
more geared towards the residents themselves or to the general public?
no, it's to the general public. So what we'll do is if you have some kind of like Verimendi did their Discovery Day thing a few months ago, which was an event where they invited the public into their community to see what their amenities are like, things like that. You make a Facebook event for it, and to start with, just to get some momentum going, you can easily, I think you can invite up to 500 individuals. So
Hmm.
invite all your page followers or as many of them as you can. And then in the lead up to the event, there's a community tab in the Facebook event that you can post in. And every single time you post in that community tab, people that RSVP to it, even if they just said that they're interested, which most people are going to say, they get notified when you posted something new. So that's a way to stay at the front of their feed in the lead up to your event, where someone who was vaguely interested might become more excited over the weeks to come
Hmm.
if you tell them, I'm going to have this vendor there, I'm going to have this uh, raffle, I'm going to have this food catering, whatever. I'm going to have this activity planned for my event on that day. That's a great way to kind of nurture people that have said, I'm interested, I'll keep an eye on this. You can really try and convert them closer to the event. And then putting money behind a Facebook event is very cost effective as well. This is something where we've seen there is kind of a ceiling to it. If you spend too much money on a Facebook event, there's diminishing returns. So you don't even have to spend much just to give you a little bit extra visibility, get 10 to 20 to 30 more RSVPs a day
Hmm.
that you then hit with those notifications every time you post in the community tab. And then a final thing I'd say is, and I think a lot of people miss this piece, if you have the ability to make some kind of RSVP form on your website, I would encourage people to do that and then link to it from the event using a doctored URL link that'll tell you it came from the event. Because you're always trying to push the envelope to see how much buy-in you can create. If
Hmm.
someone said they're interested in the event on Facebook, okay, that means they know it's going to happen. If they say going on it, probably means they're a bit more serious that they said they do intend to go to this. But if you can get them to go into the description, click on the link, get them onto your website, get them to sign up to something there, give you their email address, that's phenomenal. So always
Don't wait
try.
for the event. Just get them going there while you got them.
Right. And this is another thing. If you can at all, try to add a hook even to the event. So let's say you were planning on giving the first 50 people a hat or something,
Yeah.
swag. Even if you were going to do that anyway, add this to the messaging of your ads to say, if you RSVP, if you fill out my form, if you say going to the event, and you show up on site, you get this. You get, I don't know, you get some swag, you get this incentive, you get XYZ. It's a great way to just get them to actually show up because that's always the fear that the metrics are looking good. I'm seeing that there's a lot of signups.
Yeah. You got
I'm seeing a lot of people
you
interested
got
on
the
the event.
chips out, you got the punch out, and the music's
Right.
blasting. No
But
one shows up.
then, yeah, the day of, if the turnout's weak, it is a scary thing where you basically are vindicated or not day of because it really depends on how many people actually show up. But if you could just promise them that they'll get something that really does work, they will. People will show up expecting the thing that they were promised, and at that point, you don't even care to verify. Did you do the sign up? Who cares?
Yeah.
They came. They're on site. Give them whatever their thing is. Now you have an in. You have them on site. You have the potential to sell them on whatever you're promoting. So yeah, if it is at all in your control, make some kind of thing you're going to give them when they come on the day of. Even if you were going to give it to everyone anyway, they don't
Yeah.
know that. Yeah.
Make them feel special.
Hmm.
I like it. I mean, when it comes to platforms, I mean, would you just stick with Meta and Facebook events? Are there any platforms or forums you think should be complementary to your kind of social media program when it comes to event promotion?
So this kind of segues into the organic side of things as well. I'm a big believer in not being too precious about which channel I'm pumping something into. We want to make content that is as widely applicable to every different placement we can come up with. Um, so one thing that is a big trend now, and it's very cool, is on YouTube. YouTube Shorts are getting pushed to an insane extent. Like this is what Reels was 3 or 4 years ago. When I would post things for Radiant, it would get tens of thousands of views easily. Not anymore because their algorithm has just been tweaked a bit. YouTube Shorts are really getting pushed, so that's a good reason for you to, if you already made a really nice looking 16 by 9 ad that takes up the whole of your phone, the video, repurpose it, put it on YouTube and put a link in your bio to whatever the event is. Put it on TikTok if you want to use that. That's still a platform that can really blow up if you happen to
Well,
the
and
magic, sauce or whatever.
and what I thought was interesting is like and this is more specific, like a realtor event. Realtors are heavily in the TikTok scene, so
Right,
knowing your buyer persona and saying, "Hey, I know realtors use TikTok. Let's make sure we're advertising on TikTok for the realtor event."
right. Very good point. And TikTok again, like if you just made your content really good and engaging with hard captions that fly across the screen. You have nice music, you have voiceover, quick transitions. Again, it takes up the whole screen. I hate seeing a reel that's like a little square with like black space, negative space above and beyond. It looks terrible. Like put some effort into it, make it look nice, make it fill out the page. And yeah, if you do that really well on TikTok, it could blow up. Like there's potential there. Even paid ads on TikTok, we've experimented with it. Similar issues with targeting restrictions, um, but you can get around them a little bit. And yeah, but speaking of realtors specifically, I would even go so far as like if you have an intern at your company, give them the assignment to DM 50 of them. Like write a nice little uh, blurb, come up with like kind of 3 or 4 different types of attendees you would like. If one of them is realtors, one of them is kind of C-suite level folks.
Yeah.
The third group is just buyers. Come up with a bespoke little message, DM them. Most of those people are happy to hear from you. They're very um, used to networking, making connections. We did that. I think when we've launched some communities, that was my whole strategy was finding like 300-400 realtors that were
Just
dealing in
pepper
like
them. Yeah.
luxury high end products that were similar to what we were doing, DMing them on Instagram, on Twitter, following them and seeing if they'll follow me back. Yeah, like get scrappy with it if that's what it comes to, especially with events. I mean, again, it's so high risk if the day is approaching and your numbers might look good, but you just want to make that connection. Like you might even have that realtor who had a pleasant DM conversation with your brand. That might be enough to get them to show up, and
Yeah.
they might then bring their clients down the line. So, um, yeah, just anything you can do and like expect the worst as well. Like, do not take signups and things like that for granted. If just because you see that you have a lot of buy-in, it doesn't necessarily mean they're going to show up. So, like, do everything you can to make those connections, put those incentives, like front load them with the incentives, and yeah, just hope for the best, and then
No.
reflect on how it went the
Hey,
next.
no. But I also like when you brought up about the community page or the text messaging or making sure you're kind of nurturing that to remind them, hey, you know, we're a week away. Tomorrow's the day. Don't forget about today. Kind of keeping that in front of them. So I love it. Pete, I know we're kind of rounding our time here, and I want to kind of point towards the future. What do you think are some trends in social media? Just quick, rapid fire. What do you think we need to be aware of?
So one thing that I found out about recently, and this came from high ups at Meta, is that they're going to be deprioritizing hashtags. I've heard some people say that they are completely obsolete. I wouldn't buy into that quite yet, but it's
Are people
not.
still hashtagging?
Yeah, like you should.
Yeah.
And I'm going to keep doing it for the time being, but not relying as much on thinking, okay, as long as I stuff 50 trending hashtags on my posts, they're necessarily going to do well. A new thing that you can invest in putting some time and effort into is, for instance, alt tags, like meta information to do with images and videos. That's a general push with accessibility, but also for like machine learning and AI being able to process what it's seeing and having added information. If you post an image of your new model home, it's really as simple as when you're scheduling the post, you might have to do a bit of digging, which is cool because not everyone knows about it then. Yeah, you go to the whatever the learn more section is on Instagram, um, and find that meta description. Ask ChatGPT to type it up for you. Ask it what's the proper way to write or to describe this is my image. What's going to help this get picked up by the algorithm and so on. That's an easy thing you can do. Another thing that is clearly a trend is social media platforms in general, but Facebook and Instagram in particular, are really favoring collaborative content. So any excuse you have to tag or even jointly do posts with businesses that you have worked with. If you're a custom home builder, surely you had a windows company, you had a company that did the stairs, you had a landscaper involved. Any excuse you have to pull them in could really help with not just organically, like them seeing the content and potentially sharing it, but just in general getting your posts to trend a bit more in people's feeds. And what else? YouTube Shorts that I already mentioned. That seems to still be the kind of the big thing. And YouTube over the last few years, which I really like, has really been trying to become a social media platform.
Yeah, it seems like Google's trying to kind of play catch up. I mean, Google, what was it, Google Spaces? It
I
never
should
took
know
off.
this.
No, no, don't worry. It was such, there was maybe at max 2,000 people using it at one time. So,
If you spend any amount of time on YouTube, which everybody does, you would have noticed in between videos, more and more actual just static image posts have been showing up
mhm.
because this is another thing that YouTube is pushing, just again, turning it more and more into a social media platform and a place where you can get breaking news and things like that. Um, if you're already making stuff for Facebook and Instagram, repurpose it. Just stick it on there. Put it on your YouTube calendar. Test it for a couple of months. See if making just normal image posts on your YouTube channel gets you any more action. It might. Even more engaging things like I'm really into MMA, so I follow a bunch of channels that discuss upcoming fights and stuff. One of the things that I see have the highest engagements is literally just like, who do you think is winning this weekend? And then a poll. People find it irresistible to click on, and I do.
Yeah.
Like if I'm on YouTube and I'm scrolling and I see a poll come up, it costs me nothing to just tap on it and
And
vote.
well, no, but there's some sort of curiosity, like, oh, what are other people saying?
Right? Yeah, yeah, exactly. So as soon as you hit it, you see what other people were saying. That's another thing that can just really add to the authority of your page if you can keep cranking out interactive kind of stuff like that that um, elicits a response or an engagement from people.
Well, as we round out today's show, Pete, what advice would you give a young professional or those looking to break into the home building real estate industry? If you could turn the clock back and see Pete, you know, moving from the music industry to real estate, what would you give?
I would say if you have a marketing base coming from anywhere, you can apply it in the real estate industry and see success. So I'm an example of that. A very strange journey from music business into a trades company and now this. Um, Even though trades is half adjacent to like home building, half in the same ballpark. But yeah, like it really translates. And especially if you think that your experience is too out of left field, that might be a USP. That might give you a unique insight that other candidates don't have.
Mm.
Um, yeah, I feel like a lot of people that I've run into since working here in real estate, they tend to like sticking around here. Like they might be a realtor and then they might become a marketing manager, or they might be a realtor and they might become like the event manager of a community or things like that. So people like to stick around in the community, and you can really build lasting connections. And there's a lot of really good networking opportunities. So you're going to get way more support in the real estate industry than you would have, just to use plumbing again as an example. It was not the same kind of vibe. So that's really cool. Yeah, just people who are in real estate enjoy going to happy hours and stuff and talking, and they're friendly. So I've really appreciated that, and that makes it pretty easy to make your mark, get your foot in the door, get some introductions. It's a really good space to be in. It's recession proof in the sense that there's always a need for this. Like there's always a need to uh, link people up with the home of their dreams, or like the community they've always wanted to live in. So that's not going anywhere. So yeah, I would say just get your foot in the door, even if your experience is not cookie cutter real estate. Again, I think that's a USP. Most of the people that are in this space have been in here for a long time. It's good when fresh blood comes in with some wacky ideas or a new way to look at things. Um, so yeah, go for it.
Nice. Well, Pete, I appreciate your thoughtful answers and insights as well as your contributions as a team member. So thank you.
Thank you.
And then for you, those that are listening, appreciate you taking some time. Hopefully, you took some nuggets that you can apply into your own programs. Have a great day. See you next time.